Strictly speaking, internalization is the process of trading outside some sort of a trading venue. And the reasons for doing that can be a little bit different depending on who you are and what kind of business you're doing. People are doing it sometimes to cut costs, or they are trying to leverage their flows, or sometimes they do it as a way of improving a service, like facilitating difficult trades. Traditionally, there has been a lot of manual processes involved in internalization. The problem is that it's not very efficient, and also regulators across the globe have started to pay attention to this practice. So by turning this over to an electronic workflow, efficiency can be improved, and also the conformance to those regulatory rules are easily achieved. By using an electronic workflow, really, you can both be efficient and comply with the rules, instead of having to become less efficient to comply with some of the difficulties that the rules add. The technology should be able to handle all those different use cases that I just mentioned, but they should also be able to handle the different regulatory rules that sometimes are a little bit different. Now, there are certain things that these rules have in common. Regulation is usually about reports, and reports are about collecting data. So again, by utilizing the electronic workflows, we can basically collect all the information about what is going on as a way of providing the data for those reports. The technology should be able to handle the different types of rules for once, but they should also be able to handle the different workflows that those specific use cases mandates. We cannot assume that everything fits, well, that there's a one-size-fits-all solution. So the technology should be possible to adapt to your specific needs. If, for example, the record-keeping requirements mandate that you collect data that is a part of a price negotiation, of course, the technology should be able to provide efficient tools to do those negotiations. And furthermore, it should be scalable and flexible. Scalability, of course, due to the fact that nobody just wants to do things in a small scale, but they want to grow. And when it comes to the flexibility, although there's a core part, which is common for pretty much everybody, there are always certain aspects that can be interesting for a particular bank to add as a way of retaining their competitive advantage. Yeah, it is a hot topic in Europe right now due to the fact that MiFID II has gone live. And MiFID II introduced stricter rules for OTC trading, or the internalization practice in general. They also introduced a concept called systematic internalization, which is when the OTC trading is going above certain thresholds. Looking at the first month now of trading in Europe, we can see that there's an increased amount of trading done on registered SIs, but there's also a fair amount of trading done with the traditional OTC. We know this due to the fact that both of these categories are required to publish their trades, and both these categories, of course, benefit from having a technological platform to do this through. For example, those trades needs to be published within a minute if it's equities, and that is something that really should be automated. What's going on forward-looking is that those that are not yet registered as a systematic internalizer will need to look at all the data that they have gathered to see whether or not they are becoming or crossing those thresholds that will be provided in June or July. What comes next is that if they do cross those thresholds, they will need to become systematic internalizers. The rules, the core rules for systematic and non-systematic internalizers are pretty much the same, with one important exception, and that is that if you are systematic, you need to provide quotes regardless of trading. And again, with a flexible enough platform, it's more or less just a matter of adding the pre-trade transparency module to the existing framework, the framework that provides record keeping, post-trade transparency reporting, and general reporting as well for both systematic and non-systematic internalizers. Really, anybody who is doing some sort of internalization should consider it. I know that some people will think that having to switch from a manual workflow to an electronic workflow is a little bit intrusive. But in reality, it opens up for improvements in efficiency. It lets the users focus on what they do the best instead of having to worry about regulatory compliance. And really, all that data is not only good for regulatory reports. It's perfect for business intelligence and for analyzing the flows you have had. And it will certainly aid the users to provide a better service to their customers. So in essence, my strong feeling is that anybody who's doing any type of internalization, small scale or large scale, should have some technology platform to aid them.